Charlotte, when you mentioned the people you surround, I keep going back to that because we're largely a group of women here. I see there are a few men who've snuck into the group.
They're welcome. They're welcome.
Very welcome. I see Raymond and there's another gentleman I can see. So where you're in this storm, you have friends, and you mentioned you want to cut off your wasters. Is there a right way to do that in the storm, or should you just be brutish and say, this is what I need to do now, be gone?
You are facing a crisis. Do what works for you. You need to stay sane through that crisis. You need to stay strong through that crisis. Like I always remind people, the person who invented the phone, that you can receive calls, also invented the block button for a reason. Use it. That block is there for a reason. Why won't you use it? Everybody around me, they know I'm very generous with my block button. When it gets too much for me, I just change my number. Then I now decide who is going to have the new number. It keeps me sane. Use what you have. Why allow negative, toxic people around you? I don't care if you're my closest relative. If you are toxic, I will cut you off. I will limit the avenues for engagement. Why allow, you are drowning and you're now going to bring somebody into your boat who not only is a person pushing the boat down, they actually came with a bucket and they're taking water and pouring it on you, as in, hurry up and drown. Why would I let you around me? Because I want to be a nice person? No, I want to be a survivor.
Absolutely. I mean, and to be a survivor, it's not a very strong. True.
So if God was trying to redirect you and cut you off from certain people, and you insist on leaving those people around you, he will leave you there and you'll keep having crisis after crisis until you learn the lesson.
So repeated storms, saying that if you keep having the same type of storm, it's an indication you're not learning the lessons.
Yes, yes, you are repeating the class. You repeat until you pass.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. So
why would I promote you to the same? Why would I promote you to class 5 when you are still not doing the fractions you should know in class 4? Yeah. When you learn your fractions, you'll move on.
So we speak to the storm, remind ourselves of who we are and whose child we are. I think that's very critical. And
who is around you, with you?
Prune very, very
quickly. Who is with you?
And I see Afia.
And remember, when we talked about the types of storm, we did talk about the storm of release, the one that takes you to another level. Yes, that is where the issue of the people around you comes in, because before elevation, there's always separation. Separation always precedes elevation. Joseph had to be separated from his family. He had to be separated from the house of Potiphar. Abraham was separated from his family. David was separated. Jesus was separated. Separation always precedes elevation. If you refuse and you want to stay in the same company, you'll stay on the same level. So you must also look who is around. And some storms actually require that you're alone. So maybe the husband or the wife who is leaving you, maybe because God needs you alone at that time, because he needs to put some things into you before you go to your next level. So you must also look around you.
How do you determine if this is just that a period where you need to cut some people off, or they're just in a small episode of being negative? How do you know?
You go to a place of prayer, a place of reflection.
Okay.
And it's also that when we love people, we tend to see people the way we want them to be, not the way they are. And so even when they are showing us what they are, we want to ignore that, because that doesn't fit into our image of them. And sometimes God needs to draw your attention to that.
And it's okay to love them from afar.
Oh, there are a lot of people I love from afar. I bless them from afar.
Okay.
When I remember them, I bless them. No, seriously, even if they've been bad to me, I just bless them and I leave them there. But you won't get close.
Okay.
Like they say, you should know your Judas and your Peter. Isn't that what that popular thing says? They said Peter had a bad day.
Yes.
Judas, it was a character issue. You have to know the difference. Yeah.
Okay. So know your Judas and know your Peter. Peter had a small flaw. He couldn't stand up for himself, but he went on to do great things for the Lord. Judas was just
it was a character issue. Yeah.
Character issue. Okay. And
then also, when you are in the storm, try and elevate your vision beyond the storm, above it. You know, they say the eagle flies above the storm. And that's how come the eagle, unlike most birds, survives storms. Focus on the after.
Okay.
You would survive this. You would get past this. What is coming after? God, what are the lessons you want me to learn out of this? What should I be taking from this? What should I be learning? Focus on the after. You have to elevate your vision.
And Charlotte, if you're focusing on the after, won't someone say then that you're possibly in denial? So if you take a situation of you've just been fired from your job and someone meets you.
Again, you're listening to this someone.
Yes.
I'm not very good at listening to people.
So, okay. So if it could even be your mind talking to you. You have this two voices.
You have to control your mind.
Okay. Okay.
You have power over your mind. You need to control your mind. And that's why we started with having a mindset of faith over fear. You need to take control. Otherwise, the storm will over you. You need to take control.
Okay. All right. I guess we're very solidly in the storm right now.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that we have to be focused on surviving the storm, and whatever we need to do to survive the storm, we need to do it. And that includes using the virtual block.
First thing you should even do after praying.
After praying is use the block option and love them from afar. That for me is very critical.
If you have to change your number, change your number. People will need to find you, they'll send you email.
True. And I've come to realize that the people who really matter, they have a way of finding you when they need to.
They'll find you.
They'll find you. Okay.
And so all these people, they never call you to bring you money or transactions that would know. The ones who are bringing you money, they'll find you. This one's
it's just
aimless gossip, foolish talk that would even depress you more. Oh, please.
Yeah. I think
then there are the ones who automatically assume that your enemy's friend is your enemy. And your enemy's enemy is your friend. And so because of that, they throw all kinds of rubbish at you that you're not even interested in. Petra's baby is crying. Oh dear.
I'm sure we'll sort that out. Okay.
We need to take a baby break.
Oh, no. We'll be fine. If I go off camera, then I'm doing something that I don't want everybody to see.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. So we're before the storm, we're in the storm. Is there anything else you'd like to add to help us whilst we're in the storm?
No, because people generally don't listen a lot when they're in the storm. And sorry guys, Petra's baby is wailing. But okay, let me just go on. I think that when you are in a storm, the noise of the storm, the wind, can be very confusing, can be very disempowering. And so you tend to focus on that, and that is where the fear comes from. But the important thing is to remember that it's just noise. The water itself is not that damaging, it's the wind that is the issue. But if you allow the noise of the storm to get to you, you can get very confused. And it can even put you in a position where you are immobilized and you're not doing anything because just the noise of the gushing wind just scares you. So you must learn to block out that noise and not allow the noise to get to you. And that noise can actually come from the people you surround yourself with or the people you allow to have access to you. That's why it's really important that you learn to block out the noise and focus on the substance.
Whilst Auntie Petra is getting the baby sorted out, we have a few questions here.
Okay.
So we can answer them. One of them is, what are the most important and useful skills one can learn amidst this era of technology and pandemic? You don't want to.
It depends on your industry.
Okay.
It really depends on the industry that you're in. The skills I would say that a lawyer has to learn, or a nurse has to learn, or a doctor has to learn, or a banker, it's all different. You really need to understand your industry and your profession in that industry. You know, there's no blanket skills. Of course, emotional skills always help. People are, it's amazing how people underestimate emotional intelligence. Using technology that enables you to work from different locations, I think would be very useful in today's world, regardless of what industry you're in. Language skills always help. Learning additional languages. But it really depends on your own professional occupation and the industry you're in.
Okay, so we have another question here. It says, I have been in a long period of stagnation, so I entered into a hope mode. When I pray, I think like one day this will happen, etc. How can I restore my faith?
You have to go beyond hope and actually get to a place of faith. Use affirmations. If that person can send me an email, if you send me an email, I would send you some links to affirmations that you need to repeat to yourself or listen, and that can really help you boost your faith. And depending on what you're seeking, help you find it.
Okay, you can also get the book Godfessions by
Godfessions by Goke Coker
on Amazon. That will help.
Godfessions really helped me through a very difficult period in my life because it was waking up every morning and reading those prayers and just repeating them. And there was even a friend who was going through health challenges, and I used to send it to her every morning. And I remember she used to tell me that, are you sure this person who is writing this is a man of God? Those days we used to get it on WhatsApp. And I was like, why? She's like, he's like a fetish priest. He seems to know everything I'm going through because every day the words just speak to my situation. So Godfessions, Godfessions is a very, very good one to use. And is Christian based.
I'll put the link in the chat shortly.
There's
another question here. I'm not going to read everything, but she's basically asking because it's long. Do you advise her get into entrepreneurship given the way the corporate world is heading to, so I can earn additional income to reduce the financial burden coming?
We'll deal with that when we're talking about doing a storm plan. I'll deal with that.
Okay, Auntie Petra is back, so we can continue.
Thank you, Tika. Thank you.
Before she come up shortly, please, if you have a question, either make it private to Auntie Petra or me, because it will be hard to go through the chats to get your questions out. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Tega. So we've talked about before we're in the storm. What do we do after the storm?
Oh, after the storm, that's actually the beautiful part, because you have survived it. And if you've ever witnessed a storm, after a storm, there's usually calm, the noise has stopped, there's quiet. And then when you step out, everything looks brighter and cleaner. Get clarity after a storm. After a storm, you would find that some trees have fallen, some branches of some trees have fallen, some trees are still standing. Some houses are standing, some houses, the roofs are up. I mean, you get to see what all the weak areas are and what the strong areas are. You get to know who the weak people in your life were and who the strong people in your life. You get to know which areas of your life were strong and which areas were weak. So there's a lot of clarity, there's a lot of wisdom that you see after the storm. It's also the time to clean up. There's usually a lot of garbage. That's when you clean out your life, restructure. If you lost a job and you realize you had been wasting money, that's a time to recalibrate. You lost a spouse, time to face a new life. There was a divorce, you survived it. Now, what next? So that's a time you now start looking towards the future. You do your cleanup. You celebrate surviving. And now at least you know the people you should be celebrating with. You celebrate surviving. And you embrace the fact that you have an opportunity to start again. But this time with wisdom, with experience, and with clarity, because you're taking the lessons that helped you survive that storm with you. So, and then, you know, when you read the Bible, after the storm, there was a rainbow. There's a new covenant, there's hope, there's newness, there's a refreshing. So that is a beautiful time. You're stepping out of the ark, out of that place of protection where you survived the storm, and you're starting a fresh life. And that's when you would have learned that obedience brings safety. Obedience brought you deliverance. Obedience brought you provision. So you're coming out with a lot of wisdom, with a lot of strength. Now you know who your wasters are, you know who your waters are. You know the mistakes you made that made you lose that job. Are you going to repeat the same mistake? Or you're now going to start afresh and start stronger? So after the storm is beautiful. That is when you harness all your lessons and all the survival techniques. Now you can even teach other people and say that, hey, when I went through this and this is what happened. So that's your cleanup time. That's a time to face new directions. Maybe the tree has fallen and broken and covered the streets. You find a new path. Maybe the storm took your roof off. It is time to build a better, a nicer roof, because now you know better. You know that the roof of thatch you had that you thought was your strong whatever was weak. So now you're going to build a better one. Your house was swept away. This is a time to design a new house and start afresh, but with wisdom. So after the storm, that's the pretty part. It's a lot of work, the cleanup, the rebuilding, the replanning, refocus, new ideas, but it's also a beautiful time. That's your time for harvest and to move forward.